It's not my position before.
It's not me you should apologise to.
If there are any jellyfish watching, I am incredibly sorry for those derogatory remarks I made about your floating jelly-like species. I spoke in vain, I spoke rashly, and I know those comments will really have stung, so my apologies.
Okay, I wrote my haiku. I forgot to write my haiku. I won though, go me woo. You suck, yeah, suck it, Justin. That is a haiku, check it out.
It's a very meta vibe.
Yeah.
Who is this Justin you speak of?
You know, actually, I can
What is this suck
I
and
can
woo?
change that actually, because it's Halffield, right?
Yeah, Halfenrod.
Halfenrod. Suck it, Halfenrod's actually better last line.
Yeah.
Yeah. Boom.
You
Sorry,
single
I'm just
tear.
making sure that we're actually streaming because my Twitch is being
I can do my haiku again.
Are they missing this top tier content?
You helped her with to improve the last line of the haiku, slamming yourself. Oh.
Well, at least it won't crush Hearth and Rod's very sense of reality.
That's a small upside.
Yeah.
Shall I do it again?
Little upside.
Do we give people what they want?
No, they
feel
want bad
free to.
things.
I'm still trying to make sure that this is actually working because it's being a little bit weird, and I'm trying to confirm that we're definitely streaming.
Do we have like the thing at the side where people can comment? Maybe we can call on our commenters to be like, "Yo,
That's what's like.
give us an
part of
emote.
the stuff that's all loading.
Oh crap!
Bold of you to assume that anyone's watching.
We have had
I
some
have
people being
dreams.
like, "Hi," and I've not been able to replace them.
Hi, bye.
Cool. We do appear to be genuinely streaming.
Producing
so,
yet more.
If you
top
missed
tier
that,
Yep.
my haiku, Summarize My Victory, was written in the last minute, and it said, I forgot to write my haiku. I won though, go me, woo, suck it, Halfenrod.
And I've just been watching Justin's reaction to that on a meta stream, which I'll now close.
So
Meta stream.
Hearth and Rod is bested. You both, I believe, gained glories for that. Because you helped in achieving that end. And so let us know what your glories are. And then we will move to the other actions taken through summer.
I will become Luma, the summer shade, for the pearl I have cast over the summer this year.
You're like the Grinch for summer.
You're the mean one.
Håkon is not just honoured of his guild. Håkon has earned the title Håkon the Manipulator. But people don't know who or what he's manipulating.
That's a trustworthy guy. What's your name? Oh, it's Håkon the Manipulator.
Yeah.
Hey, he's the HM.
Since you are Autumn, you may state your action.
Don't we have other actions in summer?
Oh yes, but was yours the first action?
Mine was the first action.
So this is now your action in summer.
Right. Fresh off the bat of me getting the summer tribes to agree to gather in autumn to face... so to gather in winter to face the threat from beneath. Luma heads out to get other tribes under her wing. She has already got a tenuous deal with the lake people, so she will head to the Frosty Mountains and will climb the highest mountain in the entirety of the realm to find the leader of the mountain folk.
I am not going to stop you from making such a venture.
Mm-hmm.
I would not impede my newest ally.
It's legit.
That's such a horrible smile.
Hearthenrod is too busy kneeling alone in the mountains, pondering the meaning of this event to stop you.
And so on to winter's action in summer.
Håkon Pale, the coldest, honoured of his guild. Håkon the Manipulator. Notices he has written down Håkon the Manipulated in a huge Freudian slip. And we'll correct that to begin with.
This shall not stand!
That's just what I'm doing. Håkon will venture from the forest into the libraries of his people and will spend some time researching all the lore he can find about the Rod of Ascension.
Nice.
Right.
Would anyone contest this studious and learned action?
I see Hawken go to the library, like, oh, he's so clever, though.
I am currently making plans of more concrete nature and therefore leave Hawken to his words.
The only rod he cares about now is hearth and rod.
Yeah.
And so it was that Hawken Pale, the coldest, honoured of his guild, Hawken the Manipulator, became Hawken the Learned too.
And then rounding back into spring, Lycetra, having been approached and brokered at least a tenuous but a form of allyship with Luma, decides that she will try to get those at the forest on side by convincing them that the mere ongoing ritual of the deathless sovereign is poisoning the very thing they love. And with what means of death she has from the cold, unforgiving bringer of death that is the mountainside, goes to the oak tree that forms part of the home of the sovereign and poisons it at its root.
It's pretty big.
It's big.
Yeah, I decided to go big.
I think that Hearthenrod, with his new doubts about his views, does not have the strength of resolve to make a decision in this, and simply looks on horrified and confused.
Deep in his books, Hawken hears of what has happened when it is too late, and is full of a vengeful wrath.
Atop her mountain, Lupa hears the news of what has happened and suspects who is behind it and speaks to the tribe and says, I know who has done this. I cannot say I agree, but I will not raise arms against you if you will join us in our fight.
And so, autumn comes. We are gonna try to do the duels in autumn more as like individual sentences
Pithy
as
one-liners.
time draws on. Yep.
And indeed, time is drawing on. Half the year gone. Leaves just beginning to shift colour. The weakest and most fragile starting to carpet the ground. The forest, so loved, so tainted with sour words and blood at this point, starting to finally sink into itself, ready for another season of long sleep. And Luma, fresh off her meeting with those of the mountain, heads to solidify her alliances with the lakes. And she goes, and she is basically there to explain to them the need and the threat, and that whatever understanding she has had with Håkon, she will not stand in their way, but she cannot allow such political machinations to stop a very real invasion from coming in before the winter's end.
She is met with polite smiles and warm words and a huge feast and the promise of future help, but no immediate action is taken in response to that.
Whilst I, hearing of this on the winds that travel to me, am hurt, my love for Luma prevents me from getting in her way.
I think that Hearthenrod is simply busying himself with other things after his stinging defeat, and does not oppose this action.
You go unopposed and you gain a glory.
Woohoo! Let's see, she is Luma the diplomat.
Lol.
Winter.
Having played with all the tribes.
Hawken emerges from the feast, sniffs the wind, and makes his way to the great palace. He goes as delegate of his guild to go to the inner chamber, and perhaps just to see, at last, the Rod of Ascension. As honoured delegate he goes, the learned, the manipulator. Honoured of his guild.
I have greater plans that require patience than stoicism, something I have forgotten in myself when faced with Horkan, but I shall grasp onto them now, and I will not oppose this action.
Do any oppose this action?
I think that Hearthenrod, as the autumn closes in, and with his mirroring of the seasons, has, curiously enough, an eye on the very long term and an eye on the very short term, but the kind of mid-term escapes him, and so he will not oppose this, because whilst he lives in the very moment, and he lives 100 years hence, he cannot picture what would happen as a result of this action, and so it runs unopposed.
Horkan makes his way to the palace of the Deathless God, makes his way inside, and to the grand chamber where the Deathless God often resides, and where the Deathless Gods are king, ruler, where the Deathless rulers artifacts reside, is ensconced there, and even lays, at the end of autumn, lays the faintest touch with Hawken's fingertip on the rod itself. And gets a glory.
Oh, are you not opposing?
No.
Oh.
Whatever they have going on, it's their own thing. I am here for one thing and one thing only. Fucking up the Draps.
Fucking Draps.
Fucking right.
As long as they both
So-
fucking show up to the fight, otherwise there's going to be issues.
As the one favoured in spring, having managed to spread poison and weaken, at least in part, the fortress of the Deathless Sovereign, I decide that it is time to draw on my experience as a bodyguard and someone used to the buildings, the ceremonies, the places where the rich and the well-favoured live. And I decide to use my silence and my stoicism to move like an unstoppable force into the fortress of the Deathless Sovereign, so that I am present for the next ascension with the intent with the intent of shattering the rod. However, this is simply, my action is to actually just gain entrance and passage inside the fortress. Am I opposed in this?
Horkan has already won his passage. He looks not to those who come in behind.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Again, I don't think Hearthenrod sees any reason to oppose this.
Okay.
I had a quiet autumn.
We're both in the inner sanctum of the fortress.
There's a
Yeah.
like dual finale thing going on.
Yeah, I feel like that's it. I think that now Hearthenrod, clad no longer in rich greens, is now clad in browns and oranges, as his beard is now composed of a mixture of leaves and ripe corn, and indeed poking out underneath are the first mushrooms of autumn. And his cloak is now a magnificent ruddy golden cape of rustling metallic leaves that shimmer almost like bronze, and after a long period motionless in this mountain pass, as this stuff has grown from his face and from his cape, suddenly taking up Splitter Hue and Whisper Shard, he raises Splitter Hue in the air and smashes a hole in the earth, and decides if he could not have his hunt in summer, then he shall have his hunt in autumn, and his hunt shall be the Dreps.
Oh.
Can I not oppose this and super support this?
Sure you can.
Yeah.
A bit of me wants to like oppose for the sake of having
Yeah.
a rowdy autumn.
Oh, sorry, I thought that was Tom.
Why have you done
Yeah,
Tom? What's he
yeah,
doing to me lately?
You can.
I don't know whether it's right to do it just for the sake of like a rowdy autumn. The only
We've always seen you as a very spiteful and petty character. if that helps, that makes it easier just to say.
oh, that's great. Thanks.
Like Hawkander manipulated.
Oh no. This was the
Hawkan-
one thing we didn't want to call
happen,
ourselves.
yeah. Hawk and the lack of attention to detail have a...
Hawkan the... Oh, no.
You know, I'm not going to oppose. Whilst it would be too easy to be distracted from my task at hand, I fear that the winter is going to be a bitter one, full of fights and trials, and I must conserve my energy for what is to come.
and serve them haiku juices.
Yeah. Chloe and Lycetra talking as one. Do you oppose?
Hawkan is enamoured of the rod and sees not this.
It seems like you're enamoured of both rods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In that case, you gain a glory. And autumn, strangely, in the Mithrin realm, passes, whilst not without events, at least without conflict, as the warrior poets enter winter, the season when they can, and indeed shall die, whether that is through noble fight or ignoble drifting into death, is yet to be seen.
And the glory I now have is that he is known as Hearthnod Greenbeard Drep Terror. And now the...
We're also calling them dreps.
Yeah.
And that's not the acronym.
There's no P.
I guess
What?
I was saying dre. But they've become dreps, so I think let's
Why
just
not?
Like,
They're called Dreps.
They're dreps.
They're the deep people.
The
The
deep realm of the
deep
earth's
realm
heart.
of the earth's
Deep
heart.
Dre.
realm.
Of the earth.
Dre Terror.
Drata. I don't know what that is.
Drech. They're the drech.
Drech Terror.
Drech.
That's a-
Terror. Drech Terror. And now, having stripped the teeth of animals from his tunic, they are now replaced by the molars, and each individual molar represents another Drech warrior slain by his bow and axe.
Nice.
And he is covered in them.
That's cool.
Hi. Covered in teeth. I'm covered in teeth.
The great philosopher Hilton. That's hard.
Yeah. Right.
So, winter.
The land was sick, now it is dying. There is a canker underneath, and someone has soured and poisoned the earth. The ground freezes over, and the hearts of all those who live in Mithrin feel a fresh chill. But this time, with threats within and threats without, it is a chill deeper and far more threatening than any they have known before. Limbs fall off trees. There is doubt if they will ever bud again. And in this fucking wilderness, Hawken Pale, honoured of his guild, Hawken the Manipulator, Hawken the Learned, Hawken Ascension Aspirer, aims to seize the Rod of Ascension and ascend himself to join the Deathless Ruler and break it behind him with his passage.
This will not stand.
And
We will duel. I think we've already established that we are going to be offering aid to one another. I'm sorry.
I'm
Yes.
fine with this.
Yeah.
But will
Rod
you help?
versus Rod. Sorry.
You know what? Yeah, fuck it, it's winter. It's a real, like, let's have a big four-way... Oh, no, I can't. I go with the Emperor.
You know what? I really like the idea of us somehow doing a 4-way one.
Yeah. Is
Hack
is
on.
there someone on the street? Can you be the deathless ruler?
We can always just roll the dice.
I say we all do it, and then we roll the dice to determine the haiku.
Oh, mate, this is going to be some juicy gibberish. Yeah. Have we got a D4?
Yes.
Very well.
Could someone sit out each round so we all participate, but for each round that one
Ooh,
person
that's
chooses,
not a bad shout.
so there's still an element of choice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
And if we do that with the helpers, the supporters, maybe. Oh
Yeah.
no, because then one of us will sit out for 2 rounds.
We can figure that out and agree, and basically
Wait.
we all describe, but then when we get to the haiku writing bit, if anyone wants to volunteer, it's just like, I'm not sure if I can, or
I have an idea. Tom might be free. I could put him on speaker and he could be the Deathless Emperor.
do we want to try and Skype in a deathless emperor?
The deathless emperor has already conquered death. What is mere geography?
Let's do that. We can contact Tom when we have see if Tom will be free,
My
and
phone's
we
the
can
other end.
contact Tom with each haiku writing. This is some high level organisational gameplay shit.
Hey.
When the stakes are huge, so too are the phone calls.
Or we could use Chaz. Forgetting the actual physical person is also in the
Let's get Chaz. Should be
Let's
brilliant.
just get Chaz.
Okay, I'm gonna go get Chaz, and then we will have this 4-way battle, which I'm sure will go really smoothly and really easy to follow, etc.
So, what do you think about nasturtiums?
With what? About what?
Nasturtiums.
What's nasturtiums?
Flour.
Yeah, flour. No one knows what kind of flour. I don't.
Tolerable.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like
mostly
cooking
medium.
flour or like...
No, flowers as in like little planty
Oh.
flowers.
I like tulips.
You
Okay.
hate tulips.
I like tulips.
I like tulips as well. I think they're
That
lovely.
reminds me of when the Andrea was at university, which is what's better than roses on the piano?
Quality Street in the bath.
Tulips on an organ.
Is that a
Two.
fellatio jokes?
Just to be very clear.
That was told me by the organ scholar at Magdalen College,
That's
Cambridge.
quite good.
Yeah.
That's quite good.
I'm bringing
Especially
a
for an organ
deathless
school
emperor
joke,
in his traditional
Oh,
robes.
hell!
The
Deathless
Deathless
Ruler!
Emperor, and that is the true flamingo of the Deathless Emperor, spirit
So-
animal.
We are about to have a 4-way battle where we will
Battles of
describe
what
a
to
fight,
write.
Yeah.
like in turn, what we are all doing, and then when someone says, and I begin to write, we will write the first line of a haiku, you judge which one you like the best, we keep doing that until we have a full haiku.
All praise.
The Deathless Sovereign abides.
Great.
So, we all, well,
I've never justified why Luma's joining this fight, causing all this debacle. But
fun.
Luma will turn to Håkon and say, I have no great love for tradition. I have no great love for these ancient, antique ways. But if you can promise me that you will be a sovereign who will help defend my people, and help respect and honour those of us who lay our lives down in this endless war against those that lie beneath us, then I will assist you in this.
On my mortal life, I do.
And you're immortal?
Also that.
Cool.
And I think that that Hearthenrod, now with a beard of brittle, ancient and dying and dead twigs, and with the mushrooms when they've gone over and become covered in slime, and his cape is now made of ashen grey dead leaves. And now you notice that whereas in spring he was young, summer mature, autumn aging, he is now still the same size but hunched and weazened, and he simply turns to you and says, "All must die and pass," and grips his axe and turns towards them.
without even any words, just with a flourish, brings out her sword of stone and of ice and stands beside you. Our goals, what we aim to get from this fight, mine is to destroy the rod.
Hawken too aims to destroy the rod, but after he has ascended to the rank of god through using it.
So mine is to destroy it before you can do that.
Okay, that's a clear difference. I respect that.
Because we said it at the same time, I want to check that there's not a goal of yours I'm getting in the way of.
My goal was to actually allow you to destroy the rod, so I'm happy waiving that.
Cool. So, attacker, which is me in this case, goes first. Upon entering the inner sanctum where the rod is held, and where presumably you are currently stood next to it, your finger poised.
I am grasping the rod, I think, but it is a ritual that will take some time to complete. So it's in my hand, in the great echoing inner sanctum of the Deathless Ruler's fortress.
Mm-hmm. With a voice that crackles out like the shattering of rock, I say, stop, hurl my sword into the ground, and the moment that its icy point touches the floor, ice in shards and in waves cascades out from it, encasing everything around and freezing you on the spot.
Hawken sees this, and a little smile creeps out the side of his face. You aim to freeze winter. You aim to lock him in a coat of ice, when this is his element, and Hawken steps through the ice as if he was walking on warm grass on a summer's day, but with more pleasure. He walks to the top of the room, to its highest point, and there, hovering as if in air, looks down at the rest of you. Eldritch energy crackling from his hand which holds the rod.
And Hearthenrod, seeing this, decides that that talk talk has been demonstrated to be for fools, and so grasping Whispershard, who is now old and gnarled and covered in a thick patina of mould, grasps another of these tree trunk thick arrows and, drawing it back, lets it fly with a mighty crack, and of the bowstring slapping his wrist and sending a shower of rotten wood from his clothing. And this arrow flies towards you, and as it flies towards you, it burns through the air with the cold, merciless, scalpel-like light of the midwinter sun.
As the arrow burns forward, you see suddenly a tiny glint of impossibly bright light, like sunlight was refracted through 1,000 surfaces all at the same time, and the arrow is knocked off course as this tiny gemstone impacts with the arrow, and Luma steps into the room and says, "I am sorry to both of you, but this is the only way to protect my people."
Brushing off the hurt and seeing the one she loves appear to stand in her way, Lysetra refocuses on Hawken and says, "If you insist on trying to hide in the sky, I shall have to drag you back down to solid ground." And using her almighty, in this case, sheathing her sword and using her mighty shotgun
Nice.
that seems to draw light into its very being, she releases 5 booming, resonant shots into the walls of this very sanctum that take out the bottom feet of it, and in one huge almighty shunt, the ceiling is several meters lower as all of the walls fall.
Encased by falling earth, shot at by a stouty arrow, Hawken doesn't try to move. Instead, he takes the hit of this huge arrow. He lets the rock push him down to the ground, but his grip around the rod strengthens, and you can see he is drawing some kind of power from it. His wrist is crackling with ice blue light, and his eyes are not the deep brown that you remember them, no longer the eyes of a hawk, but starting to look something like the eyes that winter would have if it were made of ice. He pays you less heed now.
Letting out a roar that sounds like that of an injured, aging bear, woken from hibernation and starving. Hearthenrod grasps Splitter Hugh, and leaping towards you, you see is aiming a blow of the mighty jadeite axe head is aimed directly at the wrist that holds the rod, aiming to sever the arm, and thereby have you drop it. In case you couldn't guess.
So the arm, but do I still?
Yeah.
With almost stone-like grace, in terms of just completely deliberate, perfect movements, Luma steps in front of the blow and holds out her diamond pick.
Oof.
And the resounding crack shatters across the room. Not saying you're short, just like... and she looks back over her shoulder at Hawcon and says, I have always loved you.
With the cry that comes from hearing the one you love proclaim their love for another, Lycetra's eyes almost seem to unfold, releasing nothing but colour that darts in the direction of Hawkan, and her of the endless memory shares those memories in the hope that they cannot be bound within the mind of another, that it will drive Hawkan to madness, if not to death.
Hearing words of love, feeling the first wash of these ancient memories, Hawken is snapped out of his reverie and seems to have some distant echoes in his ear. His blurry eyes focus on the name of the character that he is going to pretend to love, which is Luma. And he says, prove it. And he starts to write.
Hey! Okay, so we have 45 seconds. Is the timer good to go? Feel free to pass that to the Deathless Sovereign. If you could time 45 seconds, and we will present you with the first 5 syllables of a haiku.
Alright. O deathless ruler, let me offer up these words to you. Life is heavy, death light.
O deathless ruler, I offer these words. Silent winter breaks.
Oh, inscrutable one.
Deathly ruler, I offer you this. Winter craves endings.
O Deathless Sovereign, my offering to you. Love lies, hate still stands. Double meaning of lies. I was hoping the ruler would be receptive to wordplay.
You can't point it out.
Yeah, it's really not good wordplay if you have to explain it.
Well, I wasn't
Pretty
confident
tacky.
in how good it was.
Mm. That was bad.
I'm quite sure that will be the only favour I see from the Deathless Sovereign. For fear of impartiality. No, that's fine. We'll describe the next bit and then get to the next line. Yeah, does the Deathless Sovereign want a chair? Okay. Right, I start the description. Oh gosh, I'm just trying to think of where we were at. The sky begins to encroach upon this space. There are holes in the walls, and a blistering winter wind burns through the chamber.
The wind does not seem to touch Horkan. The colder it is and the less hospitable it is, you sense the more he is enjoying this. Though upset about the very first line of this haiku, he reaches into himself and hears the voice of his true desire, which is still to write a poem so beautiful it makes a stone weep, the poem that could make ice smile. He holds the rod to his chest and gets out an ancient book of haiku, the ones that he learnt to write from, and maybe even the ones he learnt to read from, because there aren't that many books by the lakes. And he proffers that book to Luma, offering her the ancient wisdom of his poetical ancestors.
Nice. I think Harthenrod seeing Horkan's affinity for cold, and having had direct attack achieve naught, lays Splitterhue and Whispershard down on the ground, and kneeling down begins to chant once again in a deep sonorous voice like air blown through a hollow tree, and calling upon the creatures of the forest one last time, raises them from their slumber, and slowly at first, but with increasing frequency, the ones with the thickest, warmest fur begin to wrap themselves, to scurry in through the shattered roof and begin to wrap themselves around your feet and slowly start to encase you and their very body heat as they begin to burn their stores of fat, which will result in their death, because he has now opened to the fact that in fact the truth of life is death. They start to warm you with their fat reserves and their fur.
Luma takes the volume in her hand, and as she looks at Horkan, you see glassy, almost diamond-like tears forming her stone eyes, and she says, "You have made stone weep. I now would see ice smile," and she will take her pickaxe to the animals wrapping around you.
Oh God.
I call out to Luma, "Does the pact that you made with my tribe mean nothing to you now, when you stand before someone so inconstant? Is the book in your hand so much like the shiny treasures that you seem to prize underground?" And I just stand motionless.
I say, "Be not hurt, spurned one," and stand there, looking lovingly at the book, at you, and at you pickaxing these squirrels. Off me.
Fuck!
Harthenrod, believing that a natural death is worthwhile, but one brought at the hands of a crystal-headed pickaxe.
Diamond, please.
Diamond-headed pickaxe smacks of the cold, cruel, and thoughtless, dishonourable act of one such as Luna grasps Splitterhue and once again and ceases his chanting and letting out a great bellow, charges towards her and lands a blistering series of bone-cracking blows on her as he hammers her with the green-headed axe blade.
As the axe blades raid down, you hear a sound which feels and sounds like hitting stone.
Mm.
Like that is what Luna appears to be in that moment, just solid stone. And while you can feel you scratching the surface, you feel no indentation. And Luna, almost shrugging it off, looks at Lysetta and says, "I'm sorry, but I am from the caverns. We are people of stone and rock and things you can hold in your hand. Tangible promises built on firm foundations. That is what I get from an immortal sovereign who pledges his support to my people."
If that is your true decision, and you shall not walk with me in making this realm a better place, then I have no choice but to draw blood from a stone, and I begin to write.
It's real nice. It's a real nice bit, Chloe.
Yes, but can you also count an extra 15 seconds because we have to do 7 syllables in this bit? Brilliant. Okay, and so we're love lies, hate still stands is the first line. Cool. Deathless Sovereign, my offering to you is this. Love lies, hate still stands, fading hope of fulfilled life.
Love lies, hate still stands. Stone has never chilled my hands.
Getting in there with the rhyme.
Getting in with the rhymes.
That's a big lad. That's a big lad. Love lies, hate still stands. Hope dies in winter's cold grasp.
Love lies, hate still stands. To save all, let the stone weep. Deathless Sovereign can request to rehear them again.
No, the Deathless Sovereign is very much milking the moment. The Deathless Sovereign's memory is unwavering. What was your second line?
It was hope dies in winter's cold grasp.
You are the victor and may recommence narration before we hit the final line of this haiku.
I think Hearthenrod, with the sound of chipping stone, turns and seeing Lysetra unbending, now sees all of the features which he thought he saw in Luma. That which he admired in Luma and revealed itself to be unbending dogmatism has in fact manifested itself in Lycetra, and has something of a change of heart, and now believing once again tenuously, like the first shoots of spring breaking their way through the barren earth, that new things can grow from death and passing, and remind himself of his true purpose, and simply with a face impassive as that of an eagle soaring high above and staring down upon a vole scrabbling in the filthy earth underground, turns his face once more to Horkan, and deciding that if his desire was to hunt a beast so mighty the very mountains would crack and shatter at its passing, that what greater beast is there than a false, deathless sovereign, and grasping both weapons, leaps towards Horkan.
Horkan sees this and raises his sword, and he shouts out, "I am Horkan, honoured of his tribe.
Yeah.
Horkan the manipulator, Horkan the learned, Horkan ascension aspirer. And I keep my promises, and I promise this, you too shall die. And meet you in the air, and we clash. In a presumably an epic way that will be determined by the haiku."
Lycetra begins scaling the walls of the chamber, not climbing but simply running. Her footfall able to catch on the slightest imperfection in the wall to use as her hold as she careens upwards towards this clash, and not fully understanding your actions. Oh shoot. I'm terribly sorry. I forgot that I needed to change the battery of the camera. So, people can still hear this. I'm just gonna quickly change the battery in the camera. I'm so sorry, but I forgot.
When did we lose video?
Just now, because I heard it retract.
Alright, cool.
Okay.
So, we haven't been without it for long. I'm super sorry, that's my bad.
This is an epic battle.
This is a very
Epic finale.
Yeah.
We can all die with honour, or we can all die without honour.
You
All somewhere in
will
between.
be microphones.
Hmm?
We will still be streaming, and there will still be mics.
I feel like the Deathless Emperor is very much a visual medium at the moment.
Yes,
We
the
must
Deathless
regain
Emperor
visual.
is very visual at the moment. Okay,
I feel like the Deathless Emperor choosing my haiku. Felt
we
like
are back.
lunch, and the cool kid wants you to come and sit with them.
That never
Okay.
happened to me.
Come to the deathless table.
It never happened to me either.
We are now
Yeah.
back. Really sorry to
I
I
can
can
anyone
imagine what it would be.
watching the stream. That is my fault for being too wrapped up in the story and forgetting that our batteries only last so long. But we're
All right,
back.
humble brag.
If being too immersed in the story is a crime, I'm good.
Then I'm all good.
You know, get us into about how unlawful I am. So, in the middle of, yes, misinterpreting somewhat your leap, says, if you steal this moment, this is to Hearthenrod, if you steal this moment of honour from me, the opportunity to kill the one whom I must stop, then I shall poison you just as I poisoned the oak tree that grew here.
Oof.
Is this all happening mid-air?
Yes.
Pretty much just like running up
Well, Luma will basically, it looks like she's forming holes in the air as she moves. It is like creating caverns where there aren't caverns. It is slipping in and out of visions until she is suddenly up next to this fray, and she draws her pickaxe and her climbing knife, and she stands next to Horkon, and she looks at the two of you and says, I respect you both. It is winter. That means it is an honor to die. Do you seek that honor from me?
As a warrior poet, I am destined to be as beautiful as I may for the deathless sovereign. But I do not honour the wishes of the deathless sovereign, especially if he is to be so corrupted in this attempt. I do not know if there is a more beautiful way, however, for a warrior poet to die than to be slain by the hand of an unrequited love. And I slow in my movement. I do not stop yet, but I am bending.
Hawken is exchanging blows with Harthenrod in the sky. It's a lot of cut and thrust. They each miss each other multiple times, but they are giving it everything they have. An icy sweat even breaks out on Hawken's forehead as he reaches into the inner lining of his silk robe, exposing for the first time the gleaming gold within, and reaches for the Rod of Ascension, holds it up and tries to use it for the final time, high in the air, looking you right in the eyes, and with his eyebrows promising to honour that promise, he starts to write.
May you time us, deathless sovereign. Yes. Thank you.
O deathless sovereign, let us tender up these words to you, in hope that we may join you, we being I. Love lies, hate still stands, hope dies in winter's cold grasp, ice purifies last.
O deathless sovereign, I wish dearly to be the second to tender up my offering to you. Love lies, hate still stands, hope dies. God damn, I've just realised how this line isn't good. Hope dies in winter's cold grasp, death takes one last gasp.
Love lies, hate still stands. Hope dies in winter's cold grasp. The year ends. Enough.
Love lies, hate still stands, hope dies in winter's cold grasp, yet shoots always rise.
What was your final line?
The year ends. Enough.
Year ends. Enough. So,
Alright, so I'm done now, yeah?
All hail.
Oh, deathless
Yeah.
All
ruler!
hail, O deathless
thanks,
ruler.
love.
Alright,
Thanks.
alright, have a fun time. Come on, now you go. God, it's getting hot these days.
Thank you.
He is truly immortal.
Soon you're replacing the better babe.
Yeah, we'll freshen him up a bit. Sure.
Establishing truths before we roll dice. Do you have a particular truth you want to establish?
Hawken. This idea only occurred to Hawken in battle with you. And that was the birth of it. That's his truth.
Which idea?
To ascend to join the immortal
got you.
emperor.
I thought you were going to...
Before, I'm just going to crack that staff.
Precisely when this truth happens depends on the roll, because obviously I was trying to destroy the rod, and if this happens immediately, can't necessarily do it. But I would like to establish the truth that Lycetra does die, but when she is struck by Luma, she is as stoic and as still and as silent as the eye of a storm on top of a mountain. So,
Do we establish truths, or is it just you?
hey, we did it as like a big four-way battle, may as well.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I'll establish the truth that Luma, if need be, will die defending Hawcom, believing that even if she is gone, he will honour the promise to her people to send them aid.
Harthenrod's truth is that as he raises... Actually, no. He's not going to use Split Hue, he's going to use Whisper Shard. Having realised that that Lycetra wishes the honour of the kill, he is going to, grasping the now stiffening and hard... Oh yeah, let's move away from that. Grasping Whisper Shard, which has now, in the cold of winter, become even harder to draw, is going to draw back an arrow with such strength, and aim it at Hawkhan's knee to incapacitate him. But in doing so, the sheer exertion is going to rupture his heart. That at the moment he releases the arrow, he is going to drop dead.
So, you are favoured, therefore you get an additional dice to your...
So a base 3, a favoured 1.
Yep, I forgot to mention any of my glories, but I get an additional 1 for winning the first line of the haiku.
I mentioned 4 of my glories, though I won nothing.
Yeah.
But can I give him my 3 for winning
You
the
can
last
give
line?
him your 3, you can give me your 2.
I'll give
And
him my
I-
We slightly agreed
My
slightly
thanks,
different rules in
Rimmer.
the interval, because that felt like that made more sense.
I also mentioned one of my glories.
Okay,
So
so that makes
do anything else?
3 for the second line of the glory.
Yep.
Okay, and have you taken all the ones from...
Yeah, I've taken 3 from Luma.
Okay,
Okay.
that's a spare.
3, 2, 1.
Oh,
Oh, that's a bad miss.
what have you got in terms of like pairs and such?
I've got 4 4s. I've got 3 3s and a pair of 1s.
You're going to ascend, because I can't stop that. Yeah.
Do you tell the story though? Or what-
Yes, I guess because you didn't get... Yeah, I had 2 4s, so
Okay.
you only had a breadth of 2 above me.
Yeah,
If that's alright.
of course.
So, there is such a swirling of individuals and forces around you that as you hold the rod and make your last move to attempt to ascend, the moment of Lycetra attacking and taking the kill never comes. And so as you try to hold back, your heart ruptures and you are almost brought back to the ground by the sheer weight of your arrow itself, and you fall embedded into the floor by this broad wooden arrow, the width of a tree that fells you. as you lie, and a huge, if it was viewed from above, a huge crack that looks like the roots of a tree, and there are circles on the floor, so from above it looks like the expanding circles of a tree that trace your life and your legacy as you lie there on the floor. The strike against you never came because Lycetra had sacrificed herself up to a stoic end, which she took to be the most beautiful one possible in terms of at least, perhaps, if not the Deathless Sovereign's values, then at least her own. And it is probably with something surprisingly small, deceptively gentle, that Luma fells and ends Lycetra, who, on the moment of being hit, just cascades to the floor like snow in particles and in pieces, adding a blanket of winter over Hearthenrod. However, the two of you are left suspended in the air, potentially unified, as you, unopposed, unchallenged, unstopped, use the rod to ascend. And you holding this book that you were given by the individual whom you loved, see him dissipate, turning into gold dust in the air that goes to join the current hive mind of the endless, deathless sovereign. And you have a book in your hands of haiku that, falling to the ground, floating like an autumn leaf and taking no harm, you realise contains descriptions and depictions of war and of tactics and of means of defending against those who are attacking from below. And you find yourself sat in the psychic throne room of the Deathless Sovereign, able to rule over and show favour, should you wish to the drifting soul of Luma that sees these words, but as a warrior poet, unless they manage to ascend into the Deathless Sovereign, ends, but not before you manage to have valiant and noble strikes against the invaders from below. It's almost 11 o'clock.
That was beautiful,
We
Chloe.
played big. I hope it's okay that we didn't get to like a kind of haiku fight specifically against the people.
No, I think
The
this
forces
is
from below.
better. We had a big one of 2-on-2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that.
Brilliant. It's the best kind of ending.
Does anyone want to write that last haiku? Because that feels like a big responsibility and I don't know if I'm ready for it.
Syllable each. Let's go.
This is gonna be messy. Oh, wait, word each. Word each?
Word each.
Syllables, too much. Glory.
And
Failure.
that's
Failure.
not enough. That's too many syllables.
Glory
You can't.
and failure.
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 Failure can be
Yeah,
like
it's a yod.
Yeah.
It's a yod. It's not a
It's a
syllable.
yod. Glory, glory, and failure. So we're on to the second line.
Glory and failure.
Glory and failure.
Glory and failure. The true legacy of this game is fighting about syllables.
Okay. Glory and failure. Expire.
In. Because I know where my brain's going, but I'm sorry because I can't tell you.
Dawn.
You've got 2 syllables to work with.
Expire in dawn. Dawn
I
is what?
say expire.
Expire.
Expire. Expire.
Expire?
Expire. I
If,
think I
if
think
I'm
I'm
outruled, I'm happy to go with it.
Expire.
Yes, two.
It's a diphthong. It's not another syllable. It's a diphthong. Expire.
Expire. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's two.
Tense
Yeah.
gameplay.
Sorry, I'm confused.
No. So there
I
are
agree.
3 syllables left in the
Sorry.
line.
I was
Yeah,
so
three-
intense. I
three-
was
Yeah,
so
that's it.
intense.
No, you're entirely correct.
There are 3 expire in dawn.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there are some.
That's the point.
My word is burning.
Glory and failure expire and dawn. Burning down.
Burning down. Glory.
Oh, sorry, no, it's burning all.
Burning all.
Nice.
Glory and failure expire in dawn. Burning all. New.
Roots.
Roots.
Drink.
The.
Last line. Last word, Chloe!
Glory and failure expire in dawn. Burning all. New roots drink the. Tears.
I think
Lovely.
that's actually better than any of the ones that we wrote throughout the entire game.
Well, sure.
So, folks, teamwork.
Yeah.
Not competitiveness, but
The
No.
year ends. So, Warrior Poets, have you loved?
Eventually.
Yes.
I did not love. For my only love was for myself. In the end.
And I loved, but how true can a love be if you are not loved in return?
Oh,
Have you hated?
fuck yes.
Yeah. Fucking hate
Yeah.
You two shit.
you. Your success rate you've hated.
I have hated, and I have used my hate to full fruition.
Have you protected the Empire from threats within and without?
No, I ended up
I've
trying to burn it.
Completely failed.
I would say I have protected the Empire from threats from without, but I've enabled those from within.
Oh yeah, same actually.
I have let the enemies without abscond with all our silver, and I have become the threat inside.
Have you achieved your desires? I failed most ignobly, but I at least had a fruitful death.
I mean, apparently fucking not.
I mean, I worked quite hard towards protecting the forests and beasts, but I don't think I
You don't
succeeded on
get points
either
for
of
trying.
them. I don't think I succeeded on either of those.
I believe I did write a poem collectively so beautiful that it made a stone weep and it made I smile. And I believe that this will be the last ascension to the Deathless Sovereign. And I've become it. So my desires are fulfilled.
When songs are sung of you years from now, what will the songs be about? I am going to say that the songs about Lyceptra will be of a woman so immovable that even time could not shift her. And some of those songs will be sung positively, and some will condemn her as someone who could not move with new dangers and new challenges.
When songs are sung of Luma, they will be of someone who had great love, all-encompassing love for her people. And as soon as she gave that love to someone who was not of her tribe, she was betrayed.
When songs are sung of Hearthenrod Greenbeard, they shall sing of how the very source of his strength, his capricious changeability, was also the source of his final downfall.
When songs are sung of Hawk and Pale, they will be songs of greed, lies, and of success. But they will be sung in the hushed tones of fear and reverie, sung by the few survivors.
Fuck me.
So
The bad guys
dark.
win.
Yeah.
That's a real bad guy win ending, huh?
I think I've lost track of which haikus came when, but we'll pop them on Twitter in order. Does that sound fair?
Yep.
Cool.
Did you get them all down? Because I was writing them down as well.
You probably got some down that I didn't get down, but
Okay.
we will definitely do that. thank you so much to everyone who watched and for Grant Howitt for making this amazing game. Check his games out. Either look out for Grant Howitt on Patreon or Rowan Rook and Deckard, who he makes games for. Does anyone have anything they would like to plug?
Watch Sex, Drugs and Murder on 4AD. I think it's up. It's a really great documentary that I worked on about GHB and the fact it's killing gay men. It's not cheerful, it's just important.
If you want to, you could buy a book called Little Echoes. That is a play script of a play that I wrote that's available Bloomsbury, Amazon, National Theatre Bookshop, and all good retailers. If they don't have it, they're not a good retailer.
Yeah. Fuck you, B&Q.
Am I right? It's a play that's different to this. And in the future, watch this space for some short films.
Ooh.
Wink. Is that kind of thing we'll do?
Yeah, I don't know. Speaking of short films related to this man sitting next to me, we're currently in the last stages of editing and doing colour correction and stuff on a short film that was indeed written by the man to my left and directed by myself.
The man to my right.
Hello, which goes by the name of The Real Truth About Your God. We don't have a set release date, but it will be soon.
And it will give you the real
Truth about your God.
That's a very you title, I feel.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I'm gonna. My brains are broken because I have too many things to potentially plug. But I'm mainly just gonna plug Adventurers Wanted. We do a variety of live shows, of stream shows, of gaming events and such like. For instance, on Sunday we've got a really cool event where you can just come and play one-shots, whether you're entirely new to D&D, whether you're an experienced gamer. We're laying on a load of wonderful DMs, which happen to include Justin here.
Hello.
That's my right.
We'll be running quick one-shots for about 3 hours, and then in the afternoon you can have amazing, wonderful chats with gamers and theatre makers about roleplay and performance and like interactive theatre and LARPing and all sorts of stuff. Do check that out at devotedandisgruntled.com. We also have mixtapes every month. Our patrons vote on what games we play. So do check out patreon.com/Adventurers Wanted. You get materials for games. You get free tickets to shows. You get to choose the kind of things we play. And we will be doing the vote for October's game very soon. We also have a live show upcoming on Tuesday. It's always the first Tuesday of every month, which happens to be next Tuesday. We have a one-shot called Riddles of the Guildhall. It's D&D mechanics, but it is with Cthulhu-y vibes. And it's going to be really cool. That's at the Rosemary Branch Theatre. And after that, from November, we will be running Undergods, which will be our new live monthly campaign about a series of super-powered descendants of deities who are brought together to stop a big bad, which should be incredible fun, and we will be announcing the cast for that really soon. The big thing is, on Monday, we will start our weekly stream with the official D&D Twitch channel. We will be streaming Agents of the Nine Hells. It's a really cool Avernus-based adventure, and you can see some amazing character art already on our Twitter stream, which is at Adventurers250. Everywhere else on social media, we are at Adventurers Wanted. And do please check out all the different things that we do. And if you are interested about some of the things that I do, which are also theatre but also gaming, check out www.chloemashermakesthings.wordpress.com. I think that is kind of all we have. So thank you again for watching. Thank you so much to people for playing, and also our wordless, deathless sovereign who made a brief cameo, aka Chaz. This was real fun, and incredibly hammy, but in like the best way. So thank you so much, and please look out for all the wonderful things we're going to be doing and all the wonderful things these people do. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Drink water.
Cured hand.
Bye. Final plug for
Some
water.